Hello and welcome. My name is Paul McGuinness. I am a solutions architect with Megaport. I'm based out of the London office, and today I'm going to give you a short introduction to Network as a Service and how Megaport achieves that. So I'd just like to kick off and say thank you to Alan for hosting us at the TADSummit Asia TADSummit May 2020. And without further ado, I'll just go ahead and tell you what I'm going to cover today. So first off, we'll just talk about Network as a Service and how Megaport achieves that. We'll talk about how that vision came about, how our software-defined network, the whole idea, and how that evolved. I'll then talk about multi-cloud connectivity, cloud to cloud, and how that works with a hybrid environment. And then I'll do a short live demo in our portal, showing you how all of that works. So basically, just to kick off a little bit about Megaport, we are a global software-defined network. We have locations all around the world. We're in over 600 data centers, and what we offer is private connectivity from any data center to any other data center, but also connectivity to all of the major cloud providers that you can see here listed in the slides. Like I said, we're in data centers, and what we expect is for our customers to come and meet us in a data center, and then they can provision through our portal or our API into the services, into the clouds and other data centers that they need. We're nice and easy to use, like I said, entirely through the portal or through APIs for automation. And you basically pay for what you provision. So you can spin up and down services, you can be flexible on the data rates and just pay for what you provision on our network. So like I mentioned before, what we expect is for customers to come and meet us in one of the data centers that we're located in globally. We're all around the world, and we publish all of those locations on our website. Everything to the right of this diagram, the connectivity into all of the cloud providers is entirely complete already by Megaport. So customers do not have to worry about creating direct connect interfaces into AWS or express route interfaces into Microsoft, etc. We have that complete. And once you connect into Megaport in one of the data centers, you are essentially multi-cloud enabled. Okay, so that is the way that our customers are enjoying our services today. And the locations that you can connect to Megaport in include all of these data center providers. So we're in all of these different operators around the world, which means that you've got a lot of choice for our customers. It means that they just have to get to the nearest data center that they have closest to the location that they're currently in. In many cases, our customers are already in the same data centers as us, and all that they have to do is order a cross-connect from the DC provider to get from one point into the Megaport network. So as we look back at traditional network connectivity, we've seen over the years that it's been very static. It's been very fixed in its terms that you would sign up for. The capacity that you would agree with a provider, you would have to sign up for a long-term contract on that. It would be fixed capacity. If you want to change the capacity, you would have to pay some sort of a penalty in that case. So it's been lock-in, takes a long time to provision, and people have been basically trapped in this model since the 1990s without many options around that. So it's been something that customers more recently especially have not enjoyed. They want to have more flexibility, less bureaucracy, and to have things under their own control. And essentially that's where we've learned from the cloud service providers, giving that control back to consumers in a way that they want to. And really that's what network as a service is bringing into play here, and that's what Megaport is offering. So it's pay for what you provision. We don't have any setup fees. Real-time provisioning, so services are available immediately, and you can right size the capacity that you want. You can start off with a connection at 1 megabit per second. turn that up to 10 gigabits per second for a few hours, and then turn that back down to something lower if you want to. No lock-in contracts. The longest contract we have is for the physical interface into the Megaport network, which is a month-by-month rolling contract. Everything else is hour by hour. Okay, and like we touched upon already, we are working with many different data center providers, so you just find the one that works for you. So basically, Megaport came from the vision of our founder, Bevan Slattery in Australia, who has many different successful telecom companies and the founder of Megaport. He had a couple of data centers that he had created and wanted to get some carriers into those data centers, but the carriers didn't want to come because he didn't have any customers in those data centers, and then vice versa, the customers didn't want to come because he didn't have any carriers. So there the idea was spawned to get an engineering team together to develop a data center to data center connectivity solution worldwide that will be under the customer's control and could be spun up in seconds or minutes. During that time as well, of course, cloud connectivity was growing and increasing all of the time, so it made sense to work with the cloud providers, provide that connectivity into cloud, and in fact that's the largest area of growth that we have today. We provide that connectivity, private connectivity, from the physical port in a data center into the different cloud providers. So bringing that all together, the Megaport software-defined network allows people to get to cloud quickly. It allows them to interconnect data centers, and we also have our own internet exchange that we own and operate, and allow users to get that internet exchange access and kind of a shortcut to the other peers on the IXs that they want to connect to. So what does it all look like? Well, from a layer 2 point of view, starting at the top, we would expect a customer to come into our portal. They would provision a 1 gig or a 10 gig interface. We have 100 gig interfaces as well, available in certain locations. And then the customer would be given a letter of authorization for that port, and they can then connect their device physically into that port. At that point, they're then multi-cloud enabled, and that gives them the ability to connect to all of the different cloud providers that we're showing here at the bottom of this diagram. In fact, you can have up to 100 connections on a physical port on the Megaport network. We call these connections from the port virtual cross connects, or VXCs. And not only do they allow you to connect into the cloud providers that we're showing here, but also you can create a connection from that port to any other port that you have around the world. And then other things like the ability to connect into our marketplace, where our Megaport partners are displaying their services. Just to give you a quick idea of some of the on-ramps that we have globally with the different cloud providers. So these are the locations where the cloud providers make available their private interfaces for customers to connect into. Like I said, Megaport has all of these on-ramp locations completed already, so that our customers don't have to worry about making that interface with the cloud provider. They just need to make a connection with Megaport, and then they can connect into any of these global on-ramps that they want. So when I'm talking about an on-ramp, I'm referring to AWS Direct Connect, Microsoft Azure, ExpressRoute, and Google Cloud Partner Interconnect, for example. And this number is always growing as well. So everything that I've talked about so far is a layer 2 connection, connecting into a physical port from Megaport, and then us getting you a layer 2 connection to the cloud. In that case, with the layer 2 connection, the BGP session is between the cloud provider and the on-prem device that the customer has. We do, however, also offer a cloud router. So this is a virtual routing instance that you can spin up anywhere around the world, and you can spin that up in a data center that you're not present in and you don't have any facilities. So traditionally what you have to do if you want to connect two cloud service providers together, you have to take a rack inside a data center, You have to provision network connectivity to that. You have to get a device in there, manage IP addresses, and set all of that up. And that can be quite difficult to set up, and it could lock you into long-term contracts as well. With the MCR, you can spin up the MCR in a location that makes sense. You can then connect that MCR to multiple cloud service providers, and you can do that in minutes. So for example, if you wanted to spin up an MCR in Hong Kong and then connect that off to Alibaba and to Oracle Cloud, you can do that really quickly through our portal. Okay. Just to give you an idea of what that looks like, you could set up a cloud-to-cloud connection. You don't need to be in that data center. Spin up the MCR. It comes in 4 different sizes, from 1 megabit per second throughput up to 1 gigabit per second throughput up to 10 gigabits per second. And you can then scale up and down those virtual cross connects to different clouds as you wish as well. You can also connect the MCR back to your on-prem network through a port in a data center. In this example, the customer has a physical port in a data center in Miami, but they have workloads maybe 1,000 miles away or kilometers away in the northeast of the US in the Ashburn area. So in this case, they're spinning up an MCR so that they keep that cloud-to-cloud traffic local in the Ashburn area, and then they're only connecting back to the port in thousands of kilometers away when they need to, with sending that traffic back to the data center. So it's a nice solution. It also shelters the on-prem network from lots of BGP sessions, meaning that the on-prem network would only have a single BGP session from the MCR back to on-prem. So just to give you a quick summary of the different or the main options that we offer, going through this from starting at the top left. So this is the ability to spin up a port in DC1, spin up another port in DC2, and then have a flexible layer 2 low latency connection between those 2 data centers. So that means you can have a connection between 1 megabit per second and 10 gigabits per second and turn that up and down as you need to. Moving to the top right for cloud connectivity, this is where a customer has 1 port in a data center with us. Ideally, they're in the same data center as us, or they may be provisioning a last mile connection into us. They have a port on the Megaport network, and then they can connect to multiple clouds from that single port. They can connect up to 100 things there, and we'll give them the low latency layer 2 connection there as well. Bottom left is what we just talked about with regards to the Megaport Cloud Router, connecting cloud to cloud, and you can have up to 25 things connected to the MCR. And then bottom right is putting it all together. That's the hybrid connectivity from a data center with a port at a data center. You're connecting then through a layer 3 Megaport Cloud Router device, a virtual device in the location of your choice where we have them deployed, and then the ability to connect into multiple different clouds, and this gives you cloud-to-cloud connectivity and also hybrid back to on-prem. All of our locations are listed on our website, so this is something that's always growing all of the time, but you can go onto our website, look under the locations tab, and you will see all of the details in there, including the physical addresses and the latency figures between the different sites. So I'm just going to give you a quick live demo. I'm going to pop across to the portal. But before I do that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we can demo. So, we can start off in a location of choice. We can then spin up a physical Megaport, and we can connect into multiple clouds really easily. We could also spin up a Megaport Cloud Router and connect into multiple clouds there. But in the essence of time, for the purpose of the TADSummit, let's just keep this brief. I'm not going to do the MCR today, just keep it simple and make a nice demo, creating a port in Singapore and then connecting into multiple clouds. And I'm going to reduce down the number of clouds just in the interest of time, and I'm going to create a connection into AWS and then create another one into GCP. Okay, so let me just jump across to my demo portal. And once you log into the demo portal, there's not much to set up. You just have to provision some details about your company, decide on the markets that you're going to be acquiring services in, and then you can add some users. Then you can go straight into services, and let me just filter out the other services in here. And you'll get a blank screen, and you've really only got two options. You can go ahead and create a layer 3 virtual router anywhere around the world that we have them deployed, and you can start using that immediately. Again, you don't have to be in that data center. Or you can create a physical port in a data center and connect to that. So I'm going to go ahead and create a port. The first thing that we see is we're listed all of the locations that we have around the world. We can filter these down and look at different locations and the different data centers that we have in those metros. So in Hong Kong, we have quite a few. In Australia, we have a lot of different locations deployed as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to create one in, let's create one in Singapore. Okay, so in Singapore, we have all of these different data centers. I'm going to go ahead and select Global Switch Singapore. I then click Next. I can go ahead and select a port speed. So a 1 gigabit per second port speed is displayed here, and we get a price at the top. And then a 10 gigabit port speed is chosen. You get the price up here as well. I'm going to give this a name. And then I can decide whether I want to display my port on the Megaport marketplace or not. And this is something that partners would generally do, and most enterprises will keep their port private. I can then choose the term. Most customers go for the 1 month term because that's what they like to have, is the entire flexibility of turning on and off services as they wish. You can go for a longer term for some discounts depending on the length of that term. You can add an invoice reference to all of our services so that the reference goes across into your billing. And then you can lag together up to 8 ports if you want to get up to 80 gigabit capacity in a single link aggregation group, if you wish, inside a data center. So just going ahead, I get a summary of what I've provisioned. I can then go ahead and see the port has been put into my shopping basket, and I can go ahead and click on order. I'm then given a splash screen with details about the name of my port, the term, the cost per month, a link to the Global Services Agreement that again is available on our website, and I can go ahead and select Order Now. So that just goes through a deployment process. And now let me just filter out the other services in here so that we're only looking at the port of interest. And basically what's happening now is this port is being allocated to my account. So it's a real port that exists inside a data center. It's already cabled out to the Meet Me room, and shortly what we're expecting is a link to the letter of authorization to appear up here at the top of this port, and that will give me the exact location and where a customer would be expected to get a cross connect into the physical Megaport. While that's going on, we can go ahead and just create a connection. So I'm going to go ahead and create a connection into AWS. So if I click on AWS, it lists out the different connectivity models, including hosted VIF and hosted connection. We support both of these. So for example, if I create a hosted connection, I can then connect into Singapore, into different zones if I want to, and this allows me to get to things like Transit Gateway inside AWS if I wish to get there. We also support hosted VIF model, which is a highly flexible model allowing you to change the data rates as you wish between 1 megabit per second and 5 gigabits per second. We absorb the AWS port fee, so it can be economically a very good option. So let's just filter this down and create a connection into a local AWS on-ramp in Singapore. We can see that this gives us an option to connect into 2 different data center locations. So we can create one connection now, and then for resilience, we could create another connection. So I'm just going to choose to create a connection into AP Southeast 1 via Equinix SG2 in Singapore. So going next on that, we are going to say this is our TAD VXC. We're going to give it a data rate. So let's just create a 250 megabit per second connection, and then I can choose on the A end VLAN ID that will be present on the physical port inside the Singapore data center. Clicking next on that, here's where I input the details about the connectivity to AWS. So I can choose a public interface or I can choose a private interface. If you go with public, AWS needs to review your IP addressing. So let's create a private one. I put in my AWS account ID. I'm going to put in the ASN of my gateway. In this case, it's a direct connect gateway inside AWS. And then I'm going to just let the rest of the details autocomplete. And that's all I have to do. I get a summary of the connection. I can add the VXC. Again, it goes into my shopping cart, and I can just go through an order process. I go ahead, order this connection. It will then push this private VIF into AWS, and in approximately 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, this will appear in my AWS console, and I can then go and accept that interface. So this is where I've just created the port in Singapore, and then I've created one hosted VIF connection into AWS in the same metro. You can see while I was doing that, the letter of authorization has been created. So if I click on that, it opens up a single page PDF showing me the exact location of the physical port inside this data center. And that's what you would give to the data center operator to get a connection into the Megaport network. Okay, so back to the Megaport portal. I can then just create, to finish off the demo, I'll create one more connection. In this case, I'm going to hit the plus connection button. I've got all of these options of creating connections to different things. So very briefly, these allow me to, with a service key, connect to a third party privately. So some other partner of yours who also has a connection on Megaport. You can connect to our partners on the Megaport marketplace. You can connect to internet exchanges. Private VXCs are where you're connecting from one physical Megaport location to another physical Megaport location anywhere in the world. And then finally, the cloud option, which gets us into all of the cloud providers that we have on our platform, on our network. So this time selecting Google, and you can see that in this case, we're looking for a Google partner pairing key. And this is quite similar to Microsoft Azure and Oracle Cloud as well. They want you to go into their console first and provision a service key. So I'm going to take that pairing key, I'm going to copy that from the Google portal. I created this here in advance for the demo, which is, it's an immediate key that you can get there. I'll take this back and paste that into the Google partner pairing key. This immediately gives us back different options within this region. So I can connect into this region through Tokyo, Osaka, Singapore, or Hong Kong. So in this case, I'm just going to select to connect through Hong Kong just to show you a connection outside the Singapore metro. I select next, I give it a name. So this is my virtual cross connect. I can then select data rates up to 10 gigabits per second with Google. So let's just create a 300 megabit connection. I can then decide on an A-end VLAN ID, which will be the one on the port. It says that this is unavailable, so let's just choose another one. And let's just choose 301. 301 that it's giving us there. Okay, 3021. So selecting next on that, we get a summary of this connection into Google. I can then add the virtual cross connect, and then we can see it appearing here. So it's now going into my basket to order. I go through the same order process again, and I can go ahead and order now. So as you can see, the provisioning of multiple connections into cloud, being multi-cloud, is really simple once you get onto the Megaport network. As I said before, you can have 100 connections through this port. We have just created 2 in this short quick demo, and I'd like to just leave it there. If you do want to get in contact with myself, you can connect to me through this email address here at the top of the screen. You can also connect in region to Jason Borgianco in Brisbane, the Brisbane office, with his email address here, and also you can get to Filippo de Martinez in Singapore with this email address. Thank you for your attention today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I would love to hear some feedback from you in the future. Goodbye.